This is Andy Purewal for Boxing Social in association with Betfred, and I'm delighted to be joined by Caoimhin Agyarko over Zoom. Caoimhin, how are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. I just got back to camp yesterday, back to London yesterday. So it's good to be back in London. Good to be back to start camp, and I haven't fought since November, so I'm excited to get going.
You've become experienced with these behind closed door shows now, Caoimhin. Obviously, boxing twice at the back end of last year behind closed doors. Just going back over those fights and your wins, how do you assess them now?
Yeah, listen, it was two good performances, two good stoppages for me. Not satisfied with my performances, but I know how good I am, know how good I can be on the night, and it was just good to get them two fights under the belt. In a difficult time for everybody. So I got two good wins, good experience, both on BT, and I needed them fights to kind of step up levels.
Now, I remember the Robbie Chapman one in particular, and when you was victorious, I remember going onto social media and some people just started to say they'd like to see you step up now, and it wasn't a criticism of that fight. It was more so they believe in your ability and that you're above kind of, with no disrespect to Robbie, kind of that fight and that fighter. What did you make of any remarks which might have been similar to that you did?
Yeah, I'd say they're spot on. There's no doubt that I shouldn't be fighting somebody who's, I think he was 6-5. But at the same time, I'd only had 7 fights. Nobody wanted to fight me whenever Robbie took the fight, and as well as that, I'm still learning. I've been a pro 2.5 years. I took the Jez Smith fight. He was 11-1. With only having 6 fights. I mean, a lot of fighters haven't taken. Not, I don't want to say the risks I have. I don't think I've took any risks apart from the last 2 fights. But in terms of like, I've fought like 5 or 6 opponents with winning records. My second fight, I fought someone 3-0 free KO. A lot of these fighters turning pro get handed absolute wet wipes, you know what I mean? And that's no disrespect. And that's it. Like, and there's nothing wrong with that because you have to learn your trade. Do you know what I mean? And that's what I'm doing, but I'm doing it a bit tougher than most.
How important is it that you do find that right balance then, Caoimhin, and you don't push yourself into a fight which might be ahead of where you are in your career at this moment in time?
Listen, I don't know how you find that balance, because at a certain when you reach a certain level, I'll take the Josh Kelly fight for instance. Josh Kelly is an unbelievable fighter. I've sparred him, and I thought he was going to win, but inactivity and maybe just not the right time for him and his career doesn't mean that he couldn't beat him down the line, or that he's not a good fighter or a good champion. But it definitely showed that he wasn't ready for the step up, and maybe has to go back and go down a level and see how he performs there. But I feel like a lot of fighters get a lot of stick for jumping in the deep end or taking hard fights and then they get beat, and then they get stick for being, oh, he's not the fighter he was because he's beating bums and blah blah blah. But listen, when there's two elite fighters who are very very good, only one can win. So do you know what I mean?
Caoimhin, do you think there's just been more of a pressure put onto fighters during this period then, during the pandemic, to try to be more evenly matched then? And you're going back to that Kelly Avanesian fight. I know that was scheduled best part of 2 years ago, but there's been other shows and other fights which have gone on which have been a lot maybe more evenly matched, as I say, than we wouldn't have seen them if it wasn't due to the pandemic.
I do feel like there's a lot of fights that we wouldn't have seen if it wasn't for the pandemic. Listen, I'm happy because there's been some absolute cracking fights. But at the same time, I don't think it's in certain fighters' best interest to be jump just for a few quid or to get out and be active to jump in certain fights. I know I've been offered certain fights that I'm not ready for, or I know some of my teammates have, or just people in the boxing world in general, and they've had to take them fights because if they don't, then they're not going to be on shows. And I don't think it's fair, but at the same time, it is what it is, and that's the boxing world at the moment.
Moving forward to Caoimhin and with yourself, what have you got lined up?
I can't announce anything just yet in terms of a date. I will be fighting for a title my next fight. I think so anyway. I'll be fighting for a title my next fight, and it will be hopefully May time. Hopefully May time. I've got some exciting news. I'm going out to Spain on Saturday to spar Billy Joe, helping prepare for the Canelo fight, and then maybe going out to America when we come back from Spain. So there's quite a few exciting things for me happening at the moment. Like fighting for my first title, going away with Billy Joe and stuff, and I'm progressing in my career, and this is the time for the step ups.
Did you say then, obviously with Billy Joe, you're going out to spar with him, or you have just come back from sparring him?
No, I'm going out on Saturday just for him. Yeah.
So when you have experiences like that presented to you, what do you kind of make of it, Caoimhin?
It's unbelievable. It shows me. I got Billy Joe asked me to come spar him this time last year when the first fight was meant to happen. So I went down to Manchester, sparred him, and it just shows that Billy Joe rates me high enough to prepare him for the best fight of his career and the biggest fight of his career. So it shows me I'm doing something right. And listen, I need these kind of tough spars, and like sparring someone like Billy Joe. Where am I going to get that experience other than fighting him? Do you know what I mean? Being able to spar Billy Joe and pick up experience with a 2-weight world champion is unbelievable. So I'm excited to go over and learn a lot.
Obviously, usually when a fighter chooses their sparring partners, they're trying to tailor them towards their opponents. With that in mind, do you think even if it were just small details, there's little things that you offer which Billy Joe sees in Canelo?
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of people kind of say I've kind of got a Canelo style, but I think it's just with what he does with his feints and how explosive he is, and how tricky and crafty he is. And I feel like I do have a very similar style to Canelo. I was meant to go out to the Callum Smith camp. Unfortunately, that fell through. But if you look at that, there's 2 world champions who've wanted me for sparring for probably the pound for pound best fighter in the world at the moment. So it shows me and tells me that I'm doing something right. As long as I keep on progressing and keep learning and stuff, and keep winning, and I'm on the right track.
Just on that fight, Caoimhin, what do you make of it, Billy Joe versus Canelo?
On a fair playing field, and Billy Joe at his best, Billy Joe beats him. And remember, I said this: if Billy Joe was at his best, and there's no judges to go against him, Billy Joe will beat Canelo Alvarez on points. Listen, there is always a puncher's chance that Canelo could stop Billy Joe. He hits very hard. He's a middleweight. And listen, Billy Joe hits hard enough as well. But I do believe a good boxer will always beat a good fighter. And Billy Joe's a very, very good boxer. And listen, Canelo is more than just a fighter. He's not a one-trick pony. And he's shown that time and time again. He has a very smart boxing brain. But I just think Billy Joe can shock the world. It's been done before with different fights. And I think if Billy Joe was 100%, he would beat Canelo Alvarez.
And then, Scott, you just want to ask your thoughts on a couple of other kind of fights or fighters, just at middleweight, your weight. Bentley Cash, your thoughts if that one does go ahead as everybody hopes?
Very good fight. Very interesting fight. Do you know what? I don't know who wins that one. I've sparred Bentley. Never sparred Cash. I haven't watched a lot of both of them, but they're both good fighters. I mean, one's British champion, one's Commonwealth champion. Do I have to give a winner?
Say again, sorry.
Do I have to give a winner?
Yeah, go on.
Do you know what? I'm going to go with Bentley.
And then, whilst I've got you as well, just kind of looking at the middleweights out there, is there anybody in particular who, apart from, say, your next opponent who you don't really want to discuss or announce yet, is there anybody who you look at and you'd like to step in with soon?
No, listen, I'm not interested in going down the domestic route, and I won't be. Unless us as a team, my coach and my manager, we decide that we do. But for now, I'm not gonna. I feel like I'm progressing nicely. there is no. Everyone asks me this question, and I never know what to say because there is no fighters that I look and be like, I want him next, or I want that guy next, or I want that guy next. As soon as I start getting titles, as soon as I get into world rankings and stuff, then I'll start calling for names and looking for fights. Right now, I just want to stay in my own lane, keep on winning, keep on improving, progressing. I don't need to be calling out anybody or saying I want to fight him, and him. Everyone knows how good I am. I know how good I am, and I know that there's a lot of fighters that have turned down fights. Like the Jay Smith fight, we offered a 15-0 kid who then went and took a harder fight a couple months later, which made no sense. And we offered a former British champion who fought for a world title the fight as well, and he turned it down. So listen, I must be doing something right, and right now I want to stay in my own lane, keep on staying focused, training hard, keep on winning, and then I'd say next year you'll see me call for some big fights.
No, I could easily sit here and start listing off some names which kind of come to mind when you mention people you've offered the fight to. But it's best not to go down that route. Just moving forward again, just get your thoughts. Liam Williams finally gets his crack at a world title against Demetrius Andrade. Your thoughts, Caoimhin?
He stops Andrade. For me, Andrade's been too inactive. His last couple of performances haven't been great, and a man like Liam Williams is very hard to beat. I've been very, very, very impressed with Liam Williams since he went to Dominic Ingle. So I hope he can win the fight, and I'll be rooting for him. And I definitely think he can stop Andrade late. Sorry.
And then just down at light middleweight, I know it's not your weight, but Ted Cheeseman and JJ Metcalf, your thoughts?
I'll just say quickly, firstly, don't rule that out as it's not my weight. I could potentially move down. For now, I'm staying at middleweight, but potentially move down. Cheeseman should win that fight. I'm not a big fan of Metcalf. I haven't seen much of him. I've watched some of his fights, but I think Cheeseman will just be too much of him on the night.
Now, mentioning there, you may move down. Is there any fights? I know you said you don't like to call people out on that, but what would it take for you to move down?
A good paycheck and a title on the line. No, listen, if I could make the weight comfortably, and it didn't affect my performance, I would already be competing at light middleweight. It was the weight that whenever I turned pro, I said that I wanted to fight at. But I'm still growing. I'm still getting big. I've just turned 24, so there's no rush to kind of pick a weight. Do you know what I mean? I'm competing at middleweight, making the middleweight limit near off every fight, and I've been fighting very well at it. So we'll see how the next couple of months go over the next year and assess it. But no, there's so many good fighters at light middleweight. You've got Fowler, you've got Scott Fitzgerald, you've got Cheeseman, stuff like that. So, who else? Kelbrook maybe could move up. There's a lot of good fighters. Hamza Shiraz, he's a stablemate of mine. Very, very good fighter. So there is a lot of good fights out there for me at that weight, but there's also a lot of good fights for me at middleweight as well. And I think middleweight is probably one of the best weights right now in boxing. Middleweight, super middleweight would definitely be one of the best weights, and I want to be involved in some big fights.
Right, Caoimhin, I'll leave it there now, and I'll leave you to shoot off because I know you said you've got to leave for 3:30 for your training session, which is fast approaching. Yeah. I appreciate your time. Thank you for speaking to Boxing Social.
No problem at all. Thank you very much.